Welcome to People's Kids from Home. My name is Allison, and today this is story time. Today we will be reading Mikale of Hawaii by Maya Angelou and illustrated by Lizzie Rockwell. Let's read together. When I was a little girl, I looked around at my world. It was so small, and so was I. Then my world began to grow with each child I came to know. Now I try, now I dare to make a new friend everywhere. Let me tell you about my friend Mikale. He lives on the beautiful island of Oahu in Hawaii with his parents, his baby sister Leilani, and a pet fish. One day, Mikale's fish told me a story. You may not know that fish can talk, but they are good storytellers if you listen closely. And now I will tell you the story that Kekela, the fish, told me. You see, Mikale had the same nickname as his fish, Kekela, meaning that he was part boy, part fish. Of course he wasn't, but he did swim very well. This was not always so. When Mikale was younger, he was afraid of the ocean. Every time his family went to luau, which is a Hawaiian feast by the shore, Mikale begged to stay in the car. His mother would kiss him and say, "Come now." His father would have to carry him down to the beach. Mikale would sit in the sand and play with seashells. Sometimes his father would take him by the hand and they would walk along the beach, or sometimes they would stop and make sand castles. But still, Mikale wouldn't go in the water. Then Uncle Mako came to visit. He was a champion swimmer. He looked straight into Mikale's eyes and said, "Are you the boy who's afraid of the ocean?" Embarrassed, Mikale said, "Yes." "I brought you a gift," said Uncle Mako. "Come and see." In the living room was a fish tank with one small fish in it. He said, "This is Kekela. You must feed him, keep his water fresh, and talk to him every day." "What would I say?" Mikale wanted to know. "Just tell him why you are afraid of the ocean and listen to what he says. He knows more about swimming than I do," said Uncle Mako. The next day, Mikale's uncle took him to a swimming pool and asked him if he was afraid of the water in a bathtub. "No," Mikale answered, giggling. Then he asked whether Mikale was afraid of the pool. "A little," Mikale said. "Well," said Uncle Mako, "this is where we'll start. Just think of it as a big bathtub." Uncle Mako jumped off the diving board and did 2 flips. Then he swam up and down the pool. When he came up for air, he asked, "Do you believe I can swim well enough to protect you?" Mikale nodded yes. Uncle Mako held Mikale's hand as he stepped into the shallow end. "Get on my back and put your arms around my neck. I'll swim a few laps with you." He ducked under the water so Mikale could climb on. Uncle Mako swam back and forth until Mikale felt as though he was doing the swimming. It was fun. That first day, Mikale learned to tread water. That is where you kick your legs to stay afloat. Uncle Mako also taught Mikale how to float on his back and how to put his face in the water and blow out bubbles. Mikale was good at it. He learned that if you are not afraid, water can be your friend. Which is exactly what he told Kekela later that day. Then he asked, "What is it like to be a fish?" Kekela blew a bubble, bloop, and Mikale knew just what he meant. The next day at the pool, Uncle Mako introduced Mikale to his friend Anna Marie. "I hear you are doing very well with your swimming lessons," she said. "Come on, Mako, let's take Mikale for a swim." They got on either side of Mikale and held him up so he guided along. He felt very secure. They swam up and down the pool with Mikale moving his arms and legs as though he was swimming all by himself. In a few days, he was swimming by himself. At first he dog paddled, and then as the weeks went by, he began to turn his head and breathe the way Uncle Mako had taught him. Mikale felt strong and proud, swimming one whole length of the pool as Uncle Mako cheered him on. That evening, when he told Kekila about swimming by himself, Mikale realized he wasn't afraid of the pool anymore. "I think I know what it's like to swim like a fish," he said. Kekila swam around and around happily. At dinner, Mikale's father and mother clapped for him. "Mako tells me that you're swimming so well," said his father. "I always knew you would learn one day," his mother chimed in, and baby Leilani blew a bubble. Bloop, just like Kekila. "This calls for a celebration," said Mikale's mom. "Let's have a luau." So the next day, that's just what they did. Uncle Mako and Anna Marie came too. "Are you ready to go in?" asked Mikale's mom. "I'm ready," said Mikale. Mikale held his parents' hand tightly as they waded into the water. The ocean was very calm. Mikale felt safe. The waves gently rolled up over his tummy. The salt spray tickled his nose and made him laugh. "One day you will dive into those waves and you won't even be afraid," Uncle Mako told him. "Then we'll call you Kekila, just like your fish." Mikale beamed. That night, Mikale told his fish all about his day in the ocean and his new nickname. Kekila went bloop, bloop, bloop. Mikale was sure that meant, "I'm proud of you." Aloha! Thank you for sharing this time with us. Remember, we will be back with more stories next week. Can't wait to see you then. Goodbye.